right, guys, well, welcome to the Day of the Dead panel. If these folks need any introduction whatsoever, I'll do it. At the very end, we have John Amplas. And in the middle, we have Cardille. And last but definitely not least, we have Antone DeLeo. Okay, so basically, these folks have worked in tons of movies, but we're going to pretty much just focus on Day of the Dead today, okay? Hope nobody minds. I will open it up to questions. If you guys have anything else, feel free to ask. First off, I'll pose the question to all three of you folks. How did this first come up to be a project that you were going to work on, and did you think that this was going to be a big break, or did you just want to work, basically?
You want to start?
No.
No? Awesome.
No, go right
Do you want
ahead.
to-
No,
okay.
you're the
Well,
lady.
You know, I had been working in New York. I'd already been an actress. Grew up in Pittsburgh, went to Carnegie Mellon, then moved to New York and started working. And I did a play called Reckless. It was a Craig Lucas play. And it's about a character. She pretty much takes the play and runs with it on the stage. And the play is centered around this really goofy, crazy, wonderful character. And George was in the audience with his producer, Richard Rubenstein. And we went out together afterwards, and he was talking about this project that he was working on. And of course he knew my dad, and years ago when my dad did Night of the Living Dead. But what happened was George showed me this first script that he had, which is the script that they didn't do. It was filled with many more special effects, and actually it was a very different kind of film, but it would cost a lot of money.
284 pages.
284, did you
Yeah.
read the first one too?
Yeah.
Yeah. I was just nervous because I had to go in swamps, and I said, are you going to be there for the snakes and alligators? You know, I was relieved they made the second one. But so basically George asked me to do the part, and then we started auditioning people in New York. But already you had worked with George, and you had also worked with George, yeah. But some of the other characters like Steele and Jarlath, Conroy, who played McDermott, and Gary Clark, who played Steele. Those parts, I remember casting with him. We did the readings with him, and that was a lot of fun. But that was way back when. So it was just it was a job, but it was great to be also with somebody from Pittsburgh for me.
Speaking of Jarlath, if any of you have seen the remake, the Coen Brothers remake of True Grit,
Oh.
Jarlath is the Undertaker in the first 15 minutes of the movie. Jarlath is doing extremely well.
Yeah, he's a great,
He does
terrific
does
actor.
Broadway a great deal. He's been in Iceman Cometh and a lot of tremendous.
He's a great actor,
And
yeah.
he is
I've
terrific
seen him on
actor.
television.
Yeah.
The Verizon Dead Zone, right?
Yeah,
He
yeah,
did
yeah.
that.
He even did, if you guys remember the old Guinness commercials where they would do the brilliant, like that's his voice, so. And a lot of people don't know
Oh, I
that.
didn't know that.
I didn't
That's good for
either.
him.
Yeah, and
How
it's a
did you
pretty
guys
famous
find that?
commercial too.
Is it?
Yeah. Well, it's not anymore, but it
Right.
was a few years ago.
How did you hear about the Day of the Dead? How did you hear?
I got a call.
Yeah.
Me too.
Yeah, I got a call.
Did he say the wonderful Cardille is the piano?
Yeah.
I no. He didn't say that. He didn't tell me. He didn't tell me that at all. No. I think I just got a call and said, we have a thing if you want to do this thing. And I said, yes, of course, I would love to do this thing. And it was that kind of simple. I'd worked with George first with Martin, and we shot it in '76. And then I think after that it was Dawn of the Dead, and then Night Riders.
What year was Night Riders?
Night Riders was, I think Dawn of the Dead was first.
Yeah.
And then Night Riders was
It was
like
in the
81 or 82.
Really?
Yeah.
That was a great, I like that
Yeah.
film.
Really?
A little
Yeah.
long, but good.
Yeah, it was. And then Day of the Dead was after that. So, no, I think, no, I just got a call, and then he asked me if I wanted to be a part of it. And actually, that's the first time I met you face to face.
Mhm.
I had known that We actually, I think, graduated from college in the same year. I went to Point Park University, and she went to Carnegie Mellon University in '76.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
So we have that in common as well, our graduation date.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Except I'm much older than you.
Yeah, much, much, much.
Much older.
20 years.
As you can tell. But no, I was just simply asked, and it's always nice to be asked.
Right, that's
Yeah.
right. That's very rare, actually.
And as an actor, you never turn down a job.
Mhm. Especially with George
Yeah,
Romero, it's such an
No,
honor. right?
exactly.
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
I got it.
I have a question for Lori, actually. At any point, since you said there was a different script at one point, was there any chance of you and your father actually being in the same scene by any chance?
No, but that would have been great.
It was just, I wanted to ask, because I was such a big fan
Right.
of your father's
Aw,
years,
yeah.
and I just-
Mhm.
it would have been really cool, like, just a, kind of a
Yeah.
bow on the movie. just
I
to
agree
know
with you,
what's in it.
yeah. Actually, my
It
husband
was
and I.
in
yeah.
Night of the Living Dead
He-
remake.
Right.
Yes.
Well, George kind of credits him, and when they came in for Land of the Dead, George was talking about my father and helping start his career, because my dad had Chiller Theater, which was people that know is a local show in Pittsburgh that was a big hit in the 60s and 70s.
What did it run, like 20 years? or-
Longer than that,
Longer than that,
yeah.
I remember watching it as a kid.
And George was doing other kinds of films before that. He was doing sports documentaries and other things. And my dad would plug this movie that he, he was going up to Evan City to shoot, and he kept talking about it and plugging it, and so that was a cool thing.
Is everybody familiar with Lori's father and who he is? Because the guy is an absolute legend in this town. And
Yes.
the bottom line is, stuff like this, what we're doing today, would not have been possible without her father. So
Yeah.
he's extremely important to the
He's
stuff
still
that I'm
doing
sure we all
radio,
love.
too.
He's
Yeah,
still
he's
doing
got
radio.
WJS.
Yeah, my dad's a great man. He's a really nice man, and he loves the fans, and he's just a consummate professional, my father. I learned a lot from him, everything, and my mother too, but in the business,
Did you ever work with your dad in the film?
Actually, just recently, it wasn't a scene that I was in, but we just my husband and I executive produced a short film called Lightweight. And a friend of ours, Randy Kovitz and Deborah Hoskins, they entered this contest with Steeltown Productions and about new writers coming up and film people. And they came in third, but they didn't win the contest. And when I knew them and I thought they were terrific, so I said, let's do this movie then. And so, long story short, a lot of professionals put long, hard time work, a lot of their own hard work in it, and did a lot of cuts in their prices just to get this thing done. And my daughter, my father, and I are in the film, so it's really, it's just beautiful for us.
What year was that?
Just this year. It's coming
Oh.
out. We shot it last spring, and it'll be coming out. We're going to have a premiere at the end of March, and it's called Lightweight. And it's a nice little film that'll be in film festivals. So it was great.
Hold on, I have one more.
Okay.
I've actually had the chance to be in the Day of the Dead Mines, and I know all three of you spent a significant amount of time acting there. Could you guys talk about some of the difficulties that you went through just with the environment alone, as far as trying to act and keep in a role, but at the same time you have to keep your health and your sanity?
Health was like
You
the
go.
third-
You're the one that had to lie on the ground like
Yeah.
for hours.
Health-wise, it was just wonderful. It was filled with mold, and it was cold, and it took its toll. When I had to be on the ground, by then I think everyone was
Punchy.
tired, and things had reached a point where no one was even throwing me a towel or a blanket, No, it was
And they dug a big hole for it when when I cut off his arm in the film.
I had this arm
Yeah.
underneath and my hand underneath my,
It was buried in a hole, like underground.
Yeah, right.
So it was really cold, that floor. It was terrible in his
not
back.
to mention in a rabbit hole.
We were all
It was
sick.
bizarre.
I don't know.
Yeah, we
yeah,
were.
We got very sick.
By the end of it, everybody had left and was pretty well zinged.
Mhm. It was fun. It was great.
Yeah, it was great.
I had, I didn't have
Insight.
the same kinds of issues too much, and I was fortunate that I didn't come down with any respiratory problems.
You were inside for the most.
I was inside for the most part, yeah, there were some things. The final shot, I think, in, when Rhodes kills me, shoots me in the head, that was
Sounds
out in the mines, but, you know, my work was not dangerous.
Well, you had the squib on your head.
I had squibs and things of that nature, but none of those things are,
Right.
you know, it's just special effects.
Mhm.
Just made things all over.
In other words, I had no problems. I'm an easygoing guy, and so I.
And he shot inside.
And I shot inside.
A question I have for you guys too is, if you guys watch the movie, you obviously know Joe Pilato and his role and how just absolutely out there he is as a character in the movie. Just curious for you guys as actors, did that help you in your role, or was it kind of difficult? Because I mean, his personality in that movie is gigantic, and as an actor, that has to be tough to work with.
No, not at all.
Yeah, no, not at all.
No,
I
that's-
actually thought Joe was terrific in
Yeah.
the film.
Yeah,
Mhm.
absolutely.
I think he came off extremely, he did a great job.
Mhm.
Joe's personal personality, he is a larger than life
It was pretty much.
kind of individual, so, you know, I think that, you know, it was a good match in terms of Joe's capabilities as an actor. I think himself and the character kind of became one, so.
There's the one funny thing, though, I always say this, and I'm sorry, Joe, but because I'm so much taller than Joe, I'm the tall woman.
You're so much taller than everybody.
Yeah, I'm tall, so, and that's a problem for me, was a problem for me in film, with, you know, leading actors, they're not always gonna accommodate somebody like me, right? But George did with this, which was nice, but he put these lifts, he had to wear lifts in his boots. So when we're in that one scene where we're sitting in I don't, is there food,
Oh,
you know,
yeah.
in the,
Yeah,
what was
yeah.
that, like that conference room?
Right.
He would be acting and clomping around on these really high boots. So if anything, it was not hard, it was like hard to not laugh. But we all had a great sense of humor. I mean, we were all like goofball friends, and so, you know.
Why didn't I have letters?
It's true. They probably just shot the camera like this.
Yeah,
One question I have for you, Tim,
Yeah.
is obviously if you guys seen the movie, his character, Miguel, is outside of the zombies itself, the enemy of almost everybody that's there, all the characters. I'm just curious, did the actors, because it comes off this way, on set, did a lot of the actors try and treat you the same way they did in the movie, or was it completely different? Because I know sometimes actors go method with stuff like that.
Well, you know, method doesn't mean you're gonna carry it out and punch people and cry and eat all day long, you know. No, everybody was great, you know, and I could have left it behind me a little more than I did, but live in line, you know.
Was there a particular scene for any of the ends that was completely dread, whether it was special effects related or not? Was there like a certain scene that just you did not really want to have trouble with?
That's a good question. I'm sure you feel that about the guts.
Oh, yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
Mhm. I didn't realize what it was going to be, but yeah, I could have been frightened, but, you know, actually it wasn't, yeah, I guess it was, because we had to redo
Grueling, it was grueling, yeah.
Yeah, it was a long
Grueling.
time.
For Tim, I mean, I'm watching him.
You know, I was begging to go relieve myself. And Tom was going, you know, just pretend like you're in Vietnam. You know? Yeah, and it was smelly, and it was real, you know, I'm a vegetarian, and I had pig guts in me, and then they were old rotted pig guts after we did it the second time. But all in all, nothing was too bad. I wasn't too big on the, when they're ripping my throat out and biting my chest at the end.
That's not bad, no.
I'll tell you.
It was bad, because zombies were so into it, that when they bit my chest, I had an apparatus, you know, everywhere. And he bit me, and, you know, it was like, I was almost at the verge of going,
Ow.
ow, you know? And when I took it off, there were like bite marks on my pec that were very, very visible, you know?
The zombies were really method actors.
Yeah, right.
You know, one of the things that that is the thing that is most difficult often for the actor is the length of time that it takes to do a shot. And so what happens is that you spend a lot of time kind of waiting for the technical setup to be dealt with. The lights have to be in the right place, the sound has to be just right, and almost invariably, every time you're ready for a shot, some technical aspect of it needs to be adjusted. And so, at times, especially when dealing with special effects, you know, you're left waiting there, dressed, having the guts on, having the squibs on, having, you know, and that is perhaps probably the most grueling part of shooting, as opposed to, you know, when it comes time to just get the shot, because they're only shooting for a minute or two. The rest of the time you're spending hours just to get to those 2 minutes. You know, so that's probably the most grueling part of doing films.
And that was before computer generation, so, you know, everything was done with paintbrushes and really meticulous work that Tom Savini and his crew did with Greg Nicotero. That was his first job, I think, wasn't it?
Mhm.
Yeah.
That was his first movie.
Well,
And,
Dawn was Greg's
oh, he
first
was on that
film, yeah.
He
and
was
then-
like 19 or something.
And then I think, yeah, he had really, you
Was
know, kind of
Simon's
stepped
assistant.
up the game with Day. Yeah.
He did a great job, I think, in the effects.
Now he's probably the second biggest special effects guy in the world.
Yeah. It's really-
We know from all the interviews and documentaries that George Romero is one of the most open directors to people's input. Did any of you have a chance to, you know, put your own stamp on a character or on a scene or something that wasn't in the script?
I think always, always, he always gave you time to, and always asked, you know, do you like that, or is there something else you want to do? And gave you the opportunity to have your head and freedom to try to make it better, or to do something different that would hopefully make it better. So he's a total collaborator in that regard, which is really nice, you know, because there are directors out there that are kind of dictators. George is not one of those types.
When I first met George, I didn't know the kind of film it would be, and excuse me, when I envisioned the character, I envisioned her, I said, could we play it like this? Like, that she has no teeth, hardly any teeth, that her hair is really, like, choppy, and, you know, I saw it as a apocalyptic kind of the reality of it, because it's so strange to play a person that's all put together, you know, and I was into, you know, young actress that was trying to play interesting and different characters, and he said, Lori, that's a different movie, honey. I was so naive, but it would be fun, though, to do it that way, you know, to really, as an actor, it would be fun. Sort of like 28 Days Later, I think, was kind of like that. I really enjoyed that.
Well, it'd be fun to do a movie of the island 30 years later.
It would be, yeah, there has
that'd be
been
nice.
talk,
It
or
was
at
so
least
beautiful there.
amongst her and the Islanders.
Good.
Were there any scenes that took greater than normal number of takes? If so, what was causing that?
when we chopped off the arm, I'll tell you what, that was set
Tell
up,
me about
and it was all set up, and took hours and hours, and went down, took the machete, it was like a one-shot deal, right, and did it, and the machete bounced right off the arm.
It was-
Because it was, I don't know what they were thinking, but it bounced. So they had to, what they did eventually was build an arm made out of wax, which is, so it looked like it plunked into it, you know. But that took 2
Great.
days to shoot. Yeah, can you imagine?
I could, yeah.
Yeah. That's why I always say.
They chop it, they burn it.
Yeah, and he was
First
lying on that
they bonk me on the
ground.
head, knock me out.
We all have asthma, we think it's all from the mines, the limestone mines, seriously.
I have a question for you guys. Obviously, with Night of the Living Dead and Dawn of the Dead, they were both very critically acclaimed when they came out. That was not the case with
Right.
Day.
Tell me.
Through the years, it's obviously, as you guys know, it's aged better. Everybody sees it as like what it is. But just curious, at first, were you guys, like after the movie came out and I don't know if you guys read the criticism or not, but whenever you heard that, were you guys just devastated by it? Or did you understand what they meant by it? Or did you agree with it? Or just, what were the disagreements if you had them?
I was disappointed, of course, you know, but I know in those days, being in a horror film, at least for me in New York with the Asians, that wasn't a great thing. I mean, that wasn't a great thing to be in a horror film. It wasn't.
Experienced that
They look
firsthand.
down on it.
They looked down on it, and you know, it was, for me, I thought, this is such a great part. What, are you kidding me? And that was disappointing, just the attitude about horror films in those days, at least in the industry. Now you can see it's totally different.
Yeah.
but-
Yeah, there is some disappointment when it's not appreciated and when actors do work so they can get more work. I mean, they want to do what they have in front of them, and they're into that project, and they want to do the best work that they can for that project. But that project oftentimes is then a catalyst for them to get another job, because we do a job and that job is over, and then we have to market ourselves and do another job. And sometimes and I can certainly, I certainly agree with Lori about, in the late 70s and the early 80s, when you have done a horror film, it was not mainstream as it had later become. And I shot Martin in 1976, and it went to Cannes and did very well. It was written up in Newsweek and
That was a great
Time.
performance. by the way.
And
Yes,
it played Waverly in New York for months and months and months, and I could not get an agent or a casting director to go see the son of a gun. And so ultimately, over the course of a couple of years after that film came out, I just had to give up on it. I couldn't think about it anymore. Which is why I just kind of simply stepped away and dropped away from, film work. Because I was so surprised that it got all kinds of critical acclaim, and yet it was never accepted at that time by the mainstream audience, and that's what they're pushing. So it wasn't a Hollywood movie, and so it didn't get the kind of attention in that regard that I had hoped for. I moved to New York and spent 6 years trying to get a bite, a nibble, and nothing happened. I am fortunate to have been, I love the movie, and I've loved all the films that I've worked on with George. I'm happy now today that, 35 years later, the damn movie and these other movies are still around, which has, there is a lasting legacy, I think, and it's because of you people who have stepped in and shown your appreciation for the art of these films. And
When we first did, were you at the opening in New York?
no,
Yeah.
Well,
no,
they booed at the end.
I
They
wasn't.
booed
I don't
at-
remember that.
Yeah, I remember because it was,
Denial.
I had post-traumatic stress disorder for years, no, I'm kidding, but it was, they hated the ending. They thought it was a cop-out, and, I mean, I can understand that, you know, but it was such a, oh my God. You're there, you wanna sink, you know, but, yeah, that was tough. And, it wasn't, now, I mean, the cool thing was he had this first strong female character in that genre. There was a strong character. I remember saying to the publicist at the time, why don't we try to get ink on the fact that this is a strong female character in the horror genre? And, you know, I was suggesting certain things, and she basically kind of laughed at me, like, you know, this is not, you know, they were looked down on, I'm telling you, really. And it's not like all of us haven't been trained actors. I mean, we've done lots of stage and, you know.
I work in the
yeah,
theater
yeah.
every day.
And we come from good training, and we've done the classics and all that. It's just, that was weird, wasn't it?
It is very strange.
Yeah. So it's really nice that it's appreciated now, because George really wrote a beautiful script, and he was ahead of his time. And I'm so glad to have been a part of something that means a lot to all the fans, so.
Absolutely.
It's like been rediscovered.
Because we knew it was special when we were.
And I think this movie is better than Dawn of the Dead. Don't tell anybody I said that. I really do. I kind of think that Dawn is a bit of a cartoon, but Day really deals with, I think, important matters, and has some excellent work expressed in it, both through the actors, the script is intelligent, and the point of view, I think, that George was attempting to get across is an important one, and it has something to say. I think it has something really strong to say. So,
Well, it has a psychological life,
yes,
where, you know,
yes,
which I don't, well,
yeah.
yeah, I mean, the other films didn't really have, to be honest. It
Well,
dealt with
I loved
people.
Night of the Living Dead, though. I thought that was fantastic. I
Well, that
still
was
do.
actual
Mhm.
people also.
Yeah, I didn't
Yeah.
mean Night of the Living Dead.
No, I know,
Just
Dawn,
saying,
yeah.
Dawn of the Dead.